Oral questions, questions orales. Honourable member for Haldimand Norfolk.
But we're dealing with the same old Liberal scandals. The Auditor General has released a report against the Liberal government on the multi-million-dollar ArriveCan debacle. The Liberals gave $64 million to GC Strategies, a two-person IT firm that did no actual work and is currently under RCMP investigation. Wow. Today, this House is considering our Conservative motion to get Canadians their money back within 100 days. Will the Liberals vote to give back the $64 million to Canadians? Yes?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we will address that question in a moment, but I am devastated to learn of the Air India crash that occurred earlier this morning. The flight was carrying 242 people, one of whom was Canadian. We are in touch with our international partners, and I have been speaking with Canadians this morning. I am sure that all members of this House will join in extending our collective condolences to the families of those who have lost loved ones this morning. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Haldimand Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, we also extend condolences to the families. Mr. Speaker, these Liberals should not be dodging accountability. They want to hide their scandals from Canadians, but the Auditor General report is very, very clear. This Liberal government ignored the rules and allowed insiders to profit to the tune of $64 million. Wow. The Liberals have shown a complete disdain for hardworking Canadians by promoting the very same ministers who engaged in the cronyism and corruption. Why should wasteful Liberal politicians get promoted while Canadian taxpayers get a $64 million bill?
The Honourable Minister for Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd just like to note that we've implemented the measures recommended by the Auditor General in previous reports, as well as internal audits. We have revoked the security clearance of GC Strategies. We have terminated all contracts with GC Strategies. We've barred GC Strategies from future contracts with the Government of Canada. We've taken legal action against GC Strategies. We've referred cases to the RCMP because, Mr. Speaker, we will never tolerate misconduct from our suppliers or their subcontractors. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, what do a foreign sponsor of the assassination of a Canadian on Canadian soil, a tyrant who ordered the dismemberment of a journalist in a Turkish consulate, and a tortuous leader who silences all forms of opposition have in common? I'll give you a hint, Mr. Speaker. They will all be the Prime Minister's honored guests at the G7. We certainly wouldn't want human rights to get in the way of good business opportunities. That's the new Liberal government for you. Will the Prime Minister see reason and cancel these terrible invitations immediately? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, the world is facing an international security crisis. We must never forget that our sovereignty and our security and our prosperity are linked closely to general global stability. Canada believes in cooperation, and the G7 is an essential forum, Mr. Speaker, which allows leaders from around the world to have productive and frank discussions. Mr. Speaker, security, stability, and protection are necessary for Canadians. At the same time, we need to have these conversations. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, to those fleeing persecution, terror, and war, wrote Justin Trudeau, welcome to Canada. We all remember the fiasco that tweet caused and the impact that it had on our ability to welcome people to Canada. Nevertheless, Justin Trudeau wanted to welcome the persecuted, and now the new Prime Minister has chosen to welcome the persecutors. Mr. Speaker, are there any Liberals on the other side who will speak to their leader, the Prime Minister, and ask him to cancel his invitations to Modi, Ben Salman and Ben Zayed? Or do we have to understand that for the Liberals right now, human rights, well, they've just been thrown out the door? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, as I've already said, the G7 is an important forum for international discussions with international leaders. At the same time, we have to have the necessary conversations around security and around the protection of our citizens, of Canadians. That is our absolute priority, Mr. Speaker. And we will act. We will protect Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, there are questions on the Public Safety Minister's recent recusals. Was the Ethics Commissioner consulted prior to the Public Safety Minister setting up an internal conflict screen? And can the Prime Minister explain to this House why the Minister has recused himself?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, in all national security decisions, my utmost concern is that of the safety of Canadians. I will support law enforcement and national security agencies who do their work impartially and effectively. In an abundance of caution and to ensure that there is no perception of any conflict, I've asked the public safety officials to implement a screen on national security issues relating to the Tamil community.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, in British Columbia, an offender was recently sentenced to house arrest for possessing child sexual abuse and exploitation material. Mr. Speaker, the victims of such deplorable materials are living a psychological life sentence. Now, who do I blame for this? Not the judge, not the prosecutor, not the defense lawyer. I blame weak liberal laws that allow people like this to serve their sentence on the couch. Will this public safety minister recognize this injustice and stop allowing house arrest for people who watch sexual abuse of children?
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, let me condemn in the harshest possible terms sexual crimes committed against children. As a former prosecutor, I'm sure my honourable colleague would know that the law on the books today actually holds a mandatory minimum penalty of 1 year imprisonment for these types of heinous crimes. Mr. Speaker, I hope that this does not become a bipartisan issue. We want to work together to implement reforms not only to punish heinous crimes, but to prevent these harms from becoming a lifetime problem for vulnerable children.
The Honourable Member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
Mr. Speaker, despite having world-class shipbuilders like Seaspan in Vancouver, BC Ferries has chosen a Chinese state-owned enterprise to build 4 new ships, even though the Prime Minister has declared China the biggest security threat to Canada. Meanwhile, the Liberals are providing BC Ferries with $36 million with no conditions to protect Canadian workers. Will the minister grow a spine of Canadian manufactured steel and make Canadian jobs a requirement for this funding, or will she side with Premier Eby in selling out our ship and steel building industries?
The Honourable Minister of Transport and Internal Trade.
Mr. Speaker, our government will always side with Canadian workers, particularly our steel and aluminum sectors that are being battered right now. I was disappointed and concerned when I learned of this procurement, particularly at this moment when Canadian workers need our support. BC Ferries is entirely under provincial jurisdiction. The support BC Ferries receives from Transport Canada is entirely for operations and there is no capital expenditure.
The Honourable Member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
Mr. Speaker, what a great non-answer. Look, yesterday, the Minister of Transport refused to act on my concern over BC Ferries buying 4 ships from a Chinese state-owned shipyard and used the excuse that it was not a federal project, which was not the question that I asked. The Liberals should be supporting Canadian shipyards in our economy instead of supporting CCP-owned shipyards and their economy. So again, I ask, will the Liberals attach the obvious condition of buying Canadian-built ships in order for BC Ferries to get their over $30 million Liberal subsidy?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, I absolutely agree we need to be supporting Canadian shipbuilders. That's why we have a national shipbuilding strategy. I absolutely agree we need to be supporting Canadian steel and aluminum workers. And further, I agree that we need to be alive to national security challenges and bear those in mind when it comes to procurement. I have spoken to my BC counterpart about this issue, and I would underscore BC Ferries is entirely under provincial jurisdiction. I do not think any BC MPs would challenge federal support for operations of ferries.